We're starting from the top of the Yomit. Shalosh Asher is saying there are three types of share trees of Avoda, which is Avoda zara, and it has different dinim benegay to being mevat in the name of Avoda zara. Even shenatoy metchil l'shem Avoda zara, a tree that lechatchila was planted l'shem Avoda zara, arezu aisura. This is asba no, even though he didn't serve it as of yet. And in order to be matir, the goy has to be mevatel it. Second type of a asher tree is a ilan that was already planted shalei l'shem Avoda zara. The gidei, and he cut off the branches of Fislay and removed the unwanted branches, meaning he pruned it. And the way he pruned it was l'shem Avoda and for the sake of Avoda zara. So v'hechliv, and these branches grew new branches, and now it grew new branches. These new branches are also anah, and in order to be matter the tree, he has to remove all those new additional branches that had grown from after he pruned it. The third case is a tree that was already planted from before, and he placed beneath the tree idols, and he, so it's asmano, he removed the Avoda zara from beneath it, then the tree becomes mutter. Says the Gemara, we learned in the Mishnah, the pruning of a tree that was done l'shem Avoda zara, so the new branches are going to be asmano, and if he removes them, the tree is mutter. We're talking about dafker if there was a havracha. Havracha means that one of the branches of a tree, he bends and he puts it under the ground, and the tip of the branch is sticking out elsewhere, and it grows over there like a new plant. Or the hakavi is that he takes a branch from one tree and he inserts it into a branch of another tree, and it grows from the branch that he connected from one tree that he connected to the new tree. So that's where we said, I said only that's the case, that if there were new branches that had grown from the havracha or from the hakava, that's where he has to get rid of it and it becomes mutter. So from fact, the Gemara, but we learned the Feidish just pruning it. We didn't learn hakava. It's mashman just with the pruning is enough to answer the new fruits that grow out, or new branches that grow out of it. And the Gemara, when we learned the Abiyana, the words was only benegay to being mevatalit. The chiddush of being mevatalit. Even though he did hakava, havracha and hakava, which is a ma'isa action bekuf shalila with the tree itself. So and from there came out new branches. So the tree doesn't become Avoda zara. Because once it removes the new branches, shapatami, that's good enough. The time I would have thought, no, it shouldn't be good enough. Given the hikv, since he did avracha and he did hakava, which is a mice and the goof of the ilah, the goof shalila, I would consider it keila shenatoy mitchila Avoda zara dummy. I would have compared it to a tree that was planted l'chatchila Avoda zara b'litzah kula, and asked the whole tree. Kamash malan comes the Gemara and teaches us only the additional branches are going to be us, not the tree itself. And when you remove the new branches, the tree is mutter. Amar Shmuel. Shmuel said, somebody who bows to a tree that was planted shalei l'shem Avoda zara, teisafte, but the tree had grown extra from the time that he bowed to it. Asura, all those new growths from when he bowed to it, that becomes asur. Maser Abelezer is the kasha. We learned now Mishnah Ilan that was planted shalei l'shem Avoda zara. The gidu pisla v'tzichabim, and he pruned it l'shem Avoda zara v'hechliv, and new branch that has grown. He has to remove all the new growths, all the branches that had grown from after he idolized it. It's and it served it. Mashma dafke, if gilu pisla, only If he pruned it in, then the additional growths are also like he did. But what's if he didn't prune it? Like then the additional branch, the new branches that had grown, is not going to become also just by the mere fact that he bowed to the tree itself, because the ilan is mechuba, is connected to the ground. We said already the klal me'uba, mechuba, something that's connected that was served as an idol, doesn't become asbana. And the Gemara Amalach Shmuel, so that's what it seems like. Amalach Shmuel, and Shmuel said that even just bowing to a tree, even if it's Shalei L'Shem Avoda, planting a tree Shalei L'Shem Avoda Zara, but you bow to it afterwards, he says that the tree is going to be the additional parts of the tree is going to be usher, even without pruning it. And for the Mishnah is mashma only if he pruned it. Amalach Shmuel Hamani, who is our Mishnah that says it's mutter, the tree becomes that was bowed to is mutter, is Abonani, who argue with Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda, who says that if they plant the tree Shalei L'Shem Avoda Zara and they serve the tree, then it's mutter b'ana. Shmuel, the Amma, and Shmuel says one who bows to the tree, even though the tree lechatchila wasn't planted L'Shem Avoda Zara, but the Shmuel nevertheless says if you bow it afterwards, the tree is also follows Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda. He follows the shita of Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda. The Amma Ilan Shenotai will have a safe Avoda, that the Elam that was planted Shalei L'Shem Avoda Zara, and at the end he served as Avoda Zara. He says, Rabbi Yehuda says, it's going to be Aser, because the etzem planting of a tree is intervention of man's hand. So we find that the machlokes of the Chacham Rabbi Yisrael Rabbi Yehuda, by an Elam that was planted and Shalei L'Shem Avoda Zara, and then he served it, is the Isur, is the machlekes is only benegeya to the new growths, whether it's going to be usher or not. The Chacham say it's mutter. Rabbi Yehuda says it's usher, but the ikah of the tree, according to everybody, it's not going to be usher. That's why Shmuel came and was mafarish that he holds like Rabbi Yehuda, that it's usher even by the mere fact that he bows to it. Rav Ashi argues, and he explains the machlekes differently. Maskal Rav Ashi is the shayla in mind. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbanan ben Tosefes Pligi. How do you know Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan are arguing in the new growths? Dilma may perhaps Tosefes Lidmi Hakol also in the new growths. Everybody holds it's also. Ubi Yikarit Pligi, and they're arguing in the root of the tree. Rabbi Yehuda Savashi Yikarit Nami also. Rabbi Yehuda holds that the ikar, the root of the tree, is aser. The chsiv ashereim tisufim beish. It says ashereim plural. Ashereim, whether it was planted l'shem avodah zara or whether it wasn't planted l'shem avodah zara, but he served it later. In both cases, the din will be that you have to burn it. That's how Rabbi Yehuda went. Abanu sabri ikelan shari. The ik of the tree is mutter. The chsiv hashereim tegadeu, because it says about the asherah tree, you should cut off. That means there's a part that doesn't have to be burnt, and only one part has to be cut. Which one? Ezeu ilan sherak yidu yos v'ikar shari. Which is the tree that only the new growth has to be cut off, but the ik is mutter. I say that's the that's a tree that Chatchila he planted Shalei L'Shem Avoda Zara, and then he idolized it, he served it. So if you didn't want to say that previously in the Gemara we did not learn out that way, we explained that Rabbi Yehuda who asks a tree that was planted Shalei L'Shem Avoda Zara, and then he served it. He learns it out from the pasuk of Mivashareim Tegadeyun, and not like we said now, like Avashi explained from Vashareim Tisvu Beish. So we find that from before he holds that the ikka of the tree is mutter, only the additional part is has to be cut off. Versus now that we say that he holds even the ikka is also. Says the Gemara Eipach. You have to take a reverse the psuk, the drasha is Rabbanan l'Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Yehuda l'Rabbanan, meaning Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Yehuda, he's the one that holds Vashareim Tisavum. Rabbi Yosi Rabbi Yehuda learns the pasuk of Vashareim Tisavum b'lashon Rabbin to teach us both Hashreyas, whether it was planted with the intention for Avodah Zara, or whether it was not planted with Shem Avodah Zara, but later it served as Avodah Zara. And we're going to say that side the Toisus and side the Ikka are going to be Asa. And from this is where Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda had proven it. And the Chacham are the ones that say Vashareim Tisva Meish. They teach us only on which tree is going to be Aser from the roots. If he plant L'Chatchila Shem Avodah Zara, then the whole tree is Aser. And the pasuk of Vashareim Tigadeon has come to teach us that a tree that was planted Shaloi L'Shem Avodah Zara, and at the end he served it, there the Chacham will hold that only the Tosfos, the new growths, will be Asa, but not the Ikka. The Ikka of the tree will be Mutter. Versus if the Chatchila, the planted L'Shem Avodah Zara, there he learns it out from Vashareim Tisrim Ba'esh, the Chachamim, that even the Ikka is going to be Asa. In fact, the Gemara Ravashim came, if the Tosfos is Asa L'Chol Adei, Saya, according to the Rabbanan, and Saya according to Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, says Gemara Gidai Upislei, by pruning it and then it grew. So you say you have to remove the growth, which is mashma that if it was just that he bowed to the tree and he didn't prune it, then it would be mutter. Man katanila. Who was this? Who's according to this the yuk? Who does this follow? Like Rabbanan, like Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Yehuda. He did Rabbanan. If it follows the Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, even without pruning it, just by bowing to it, it's going to be asabana. Because according to Ravashi, that even a tree that was not planted l'shem avodah zara, but at the end he served it, the Tosfos is also just by the mere fact that he bowed to it even without pruning it. And the Mishnah says dafka with pruning it. And if it follows Rabbi Yehuda, so according to Rabbi Yehuda, not only the Tosfos is also, Ika ilo nami also. So why do we learn that he has to only remove what was the additional growth? And for the Gemara, Iba is saying, if you want, I can answer. If you want, I can answer like Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Yehuda. And why does he say by pruning only the new growth is aser and not the iker? Ki kamad Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Yehuda. When did Rabbi Yisrael, Rabbi Yehuda say that the iker is also potter is aser by bowing below gidul pislei? Without pruning it, then we said that if he didn't prune it, then we say the Ika Ilan is Asa. Meaning, Bistama, when he's stam bowed to his tree without the Kavana to any specific part of the tree. So then the whole tree becomes Asa. Avagido Pislay, but where he pruned it, and Gali Daita, the Tosfos Nichalei, he reveals that the only part that he wanted to serve was the pruning part. But he didn't want to serve the ik of the tree. If you want, I can answer you this still on the Rabbanan. We asked, why do we have to say that because of the pruning, the newer growth is asa? If according to Chacham, even by just the mere fact that he bowed to it, the additional growth is asa. And he needed the case of pruning because the Salkadait Chamina, I would have thought David le Mais Begufe. There he did an action in the goof of the tree. So he cut off the branches, he removed the bad branches, the unwanted branches. So it's like Ika Ila Nami Itz Litza. The main of the part of the tree should also be usher because it's like he had the kavanah to. It's like he had the kavanah to plant the tree for Avoda zara. Kamash Malon, he comes to tell us no, only that this new growth is going to be usher according to Chacham and not the ikar. Zok the Mishnah is what is asher? Kol sheish tachta avid Chacham. Anything that has avodah idol under it. Rabbi Shimon says kol sheivdim ba'isa. Any avodah zara that you serve in itself, but meaning you serve the tree itself, but not beneath the tree. If you're serving beneath the tree, then the tree doesn't become aser. And there's a story the Mishnah brings. It was a story in Sidon. Gal, in a elan, in a tree that they were serving, and they found beneath it a heap of stones. Amalem Rab Shimon. Check out this heap of stones. And they found the matzbei tzurin. They found taka like a little statue. And Reb Shimon said, since they were serving the idol under the tree, so not the lahem seilan, we could be mat the tree for them. We learned in the Mishnah what is Asher? Anything that beneath it has Avodah zara. In fact, the Gemara, why did the Mishnah have to ask what's Asherah? None, none. We learned in the previous Mishnah there are 3 Asherahs. And the Gemara this Mishnah, the Gemara of this Mishnah, our Mishnah is Shtayim l'divrei hakel. 2 the first Asherahs that we learned in the previous Mishnah. There's nobody arguing. The third Asherah that we learned before, we're telling you in this Mishnah, Machlekes Reb Shimon Rabbanan. Is a machlekes between Reb Shimon and Rabbanan, and this is how you have to explain the Mishnah. Which Asherah was the one in which there was a machlekes between Reb Shimon and Chacham, and the Mishnah says Kol sheyesh tachta avid Chacham. Any Asherah that had avodah zara under it, Reb Shimon Kol sheivim is and only how is the Asherah tree going to be also only if you serve the Asherah tree itself. Well, not if there was avodah zara tachta, the tree won't become asa. The Gemara asks, what is the case of a stam asherah? Any avodah zara that the priest are sitting under the tree and they don't taste any of the peiros. Even if the priests say hani tamri, these dates of this tree is l'shem the avodah zara bein not zefei, and the ilan is also mishum the rambash the bei shichra, because that the kavanah is to make from these dates beer v'shas levi yemedam, and they will drink it on their holiday. Ama amema ameli savi the Pumbedisa, the elders of Pumbedisa had told me that the hilsa kishmol, the halach is like Shmuel in the pshat of Asherah Stam. And Shmuel said that even if he says these dates are for the sake of the avodah zara bein natzafi, the tree is aser, because they have the intention to use it to drink the beer on their holidays. One should sit in the shade of a Asherah tree, because he's deriving benefit. And if he sat in the shade, but not under the branches itself, he's tar. He shouldn't pass beneath under the branches of the Asherah tree. And if he went under the branches of the Asherah tree, he becomes tamei. If the branches of the tree is spread over into the Shusram, and people who walk under those branches, and the Shusram is tahir, because the tumas of oil is the sazashi is only an asmachta, and so This is only a Gezerah Chachamim. But the Chachamim did not apply the Gezerah where it's Geisel the Rabbin, meaning where it spreads out into the Rabbin, to ask the Rabbin to go in their Rishus Rabbin because of a branch of a personal person of a Yachid is spreading over into the Rishus Rabbin. We learned in the Mishnah, one shouldn't sit in the shade of a Asherah tree. In fact, you want a Pshita, of course. The Asherah is also Va'ana. I mean, you want we're talking about where the shade normally goes according to the shear of the height of the tree. But in the mornings and in the evenings, the shade extends even longer than the shear of the height of the tree. Miklal, the Bitzel Kamei, same Yasher, but it's mashma that if he sat down, even though not under the Asher itself, but in the space of the height of the tree, Tamei, he would become Tamei. This is wrong. The shade is not covering over him. There's no oil over there. I mean, that's not the kavanah of Rabbi Yechanan. What was the kavanah? The fil etzel kamesa namim yoshatar. For sure, if the sheira is not hovering over him, if he sits under it, he's tar. Rather, this is what he's coming to teach us. The chiddush in the Reisha is don't sit in the shade because the fil etzel tzila lo yeshav, even in the shade beyond the shear of the tree, he shouldn't sit there because not mitzad oil, mitzad you shouldn't derive any benefit of the tree. Others learn on the sefer. If he sat in the shade of the Asher Tar, he's going to be tar. Of course he's tar. He's not sitting under it. We only needed to teach us that even if he sits in the shade in the shear of the height of the tree, he's not going to become tummy. Okay, it's just us. You're not allowed to sit mitzad asvana. So if it's beyond the shear of the height of the tree, that shade, why? Even the chatchila, it should be mutar. It says, the Gemara is saying, if the Mishnah is dealing with the tara of somebody sitting b'tzel kamaisa, and that the Mishnah says lo yeshu b'tzila, so you can be medayik dafki b'tzel kamaisa, you're not allowed to sit. But l'tzel tzila, you're allowed to sit if it's more than the shear of the tree. You're allowed to sit, even l'chatchila. Says Gemara loy. That wasn't the kavanah of Rabbi Yechanan to say dafki b'tzel kamaisa. The din is that you're not allowed, and not if it's beyond that. It's forbidden even in the shade that extends further. And because mitzad isa, no, it's even further. This is the chiddush of the sefer. But he wants to tell you a chiddush in the reverse. When they gave tumah v'tara, mitzad isa, no, even l'tzel tzila, you're not allowed to derive benefit. Even if it's beyond the shear of the height of the tree. But mitzad, the tara, that even if he's sitting under the shade of the tree, since that shade is not being mal over and in the shear of the height of the tree, he's deriving benefit from the shade, but it's not considered oil and it's tar. He's not going to be a tamei mitzad that. We learned in the Mishnah, one should go pass through under the tree, and if he passed under the tree, he's tamei. In fact, one of my time, what's the reason that he becomes tummy by passing under the tree? Avoda zara is not metama ba'oil. It's impossible that there wasn't any the items or takrevis and sacrifices for the avoda zara under that tree, and therefore it's that part that the takrevis, their kabbanis of the that they serve for the avoda zara, which is under the tree, has a din like a mace, and now the tree is over you, so therefore it's called oil mace. Mani, who is this following? Rabbi Yehuda ben Serehi. The Tanya we learned in the Brayse. Rabbi Yehuda ben Serehi. How do we know the sacrifices towards the idol? That those pieces of the sacrifice is metama if you're under oil with the takrevis of the Avoda Zara that you become tameh. Shedam, like it says in the pasuk, some the Baal Peir Mason. Those that were attached to the Baal Peir and they ate karbanis of mason, which means that the Avoda Zara is considered as a mace; it has no life. And so you consider you compare this vachim, the karbanis, the takrevis to mason. Ma mace metam ba'el, just like a regular mace is metam ba'el. If there's an oil over you and the mace, you become tameh. Af takrevis havit zicham metam ba'el. So too, if you're standing with a sacrifice of Avoda Zara under oil, you become tameh. So we learned the Mishnah. If the Asherah tree's branches stretched over into the Shusarab, and he went beneath those branches, he's tired. The Gemara asked, what's the kavanah of the Mishnah? Is it only b'di'evad if he went under it? He doesn't become tameh, but l'chatchila lo yaver, he shouldn't go under it. Or it means he's allowed to even go under l'chatchila. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar b'shmeid Chizkiya Amar Eiva. Chizkiya ben Elazar said the name of Chizkiya. Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elazar said the name of Chizkiya. He can even do l'chatchila. Rabbi Yechon Amar b'di'evad. Rabbi Yechon says only b'di'evad. That im ava he's not going to be tameh. V'loi pliga, they're not arguing. This that Rabbi Yechon said l'chatchila, he shouldn't go under it. He can dirka achrina, that he has another path to get to the same destination. So therefore, l'chatchila shouldn't go under that branch of Asherah. This that Chizkiya said it's mutalav l'chatchila, the leika dirka achrina, because there's no other path in which to get to that destination. The Gemara now brings a story. Rav Sheshes said to his servant, who was blind, and he would lead him around. He says, when you reach the place of the Asherah, ahitni, take me fast. Don't make me rush through that area. How's the case talking about? If he had no other path to get to his destination, why did he request that he should go there under it fast? And if there was another path, if he tells him, rush, will then be mutter? I mean, you want to lay really in Shesh's case, there was no other path to get to his destination. Nevertheless, why did he say to rush him? Because Shesh is Adam Chashuv Shiny, he's considered Adam Chashuv, and people will look at him, and he has to be machman on himself. So people shouldn't learn from his maisim to be lenient. So therefore, he told him, even though there's no other path, rush me through it. We learned in the Mishnah that one can plant on the Asherah tree Irakis be Yemeisak Shumim, vegetables in the Yemeisak Shumim, because in this time, the sunlight is very little, and it needs to grow. So it's not having enough from the shade. But he shouldn't plant it in the summertime, because the shade does help the vegetables grow, so it's deriving benefit from the Asherah tree. Machazirin and the lettuce, because the shade always helps for the lettuce. Rabbi Yosef, you don't plant under that Asherah tree, even vegetables in the wintertime, because of the trees that fall off, the leaves that fall off the Asherah tree, falls, and they fall onto the Irakis, and it turns into fertilizer. So he has enough from the Asherah tree. In fact, the Gemara, we learned in the Mishnah that the Chacham were matter to plant vegetables under the Asherah in the winter time. Rabbi Yossi Asa did. He says because they're growing from the leaves, which turns into fertilizer. L'meimah, should we say that Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yossi says that anything that grows from muta and iser is aser, and over here it's growing from the ground, which is muta, but it's also growing from the leaves of the Asherah tree, which turned into fertilizer. So since it's coming from both, Yossi holds it's aser. Rabbanan will say it's muta because It's coming from the karka, which is muta. How can you say that's machlek? We learned the shita in the reverse way. The Tanan that we learned in the Mishnah, somebody who finds a keli and on the keli was the tzura of Avoda zara, what should he do? He should grind it and throw it into the air, or throw it into the sea, in a place where no man will have anah. So the Chacham said, don't throw it into the wind, because it turns into fertilizer and that somebody can have anah. And it says by the Yarnadachas, a person's hand shouldn't be attached to whatsoever of anything that had to do with Avoda zara. So you kash the Rabbanan, you have a stira from the Rabbanan and Rabbanan, because the Chachamim here say that they were matir to plant under the tree, even though the zevel, the leaves turn into fertilizer. Nevertheless, they say, the Chachamim say over here that it's mutter, and there the Chachamim said by the keli with the tzura, they said the Chachamim say it's aser to throw it into the wind because it'll cause. We said because it'll cause a benefit from it. Says the Gemara, and Kash Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi in our Mishnah asers the growth from the Yerakis under the tree because of the leaves turn into fertilizer. And before he says you could, so it's a stira. I mean, it's understood that it's not a stira in Rabbi Yossi. In the previous Mishnah, the zaval that was made from the Avoda zara was almanas to destroy it. He grinded it, threw it into the wind. So it's no worse than Avoda zara that broke on its own, that it's batal and it's mutter. That's why matter. That's why Rabbi Yossi allowed it thrown in the air, and we're not concerned that it turns into zavel. But in our Mishnah, this is the way it grows, that the leaves fall off. Asa, therefore he says it's asa. Kasha, but according to Rabbanan, it's a stira. It says you want to reverse the Chacham Rabbi Yossi Chachamim in one of the Mishnayos, and now we'll have the shita of the Chachamim in our Mishnah lined up with the previous Mishnah, and so too Rabbi Yossi lined up with the previous Mishnah. Or the Gemara gives a different answer. We don't have to reverse. Rabbi Yossi will answer like we answered originally, that he holds Zavazagayim is asa, and Rabbi Yossi wasn't concerned for the grinding the kli, that the dust of the kli will turn into zevel, because it was the Avoda zara was batal through the grinding. The Rabbanan and the stira of the Rabbanan, that the Amar B'nei Kahana said, that the behemoths, behemoths kachim that got a blemish and it became pasul hakrava. Once you redeem it and you shacht it, you cannot skin the animal the normal way, so that the whole skin should remain complete, and sell the skin for a more expensive price, because it's a design for the kachim, because the meat is becoming spoiled in a very bizayandik way. So the Gemara asked, why not? Let him skin the oil, because like this the hekdesh will make more money. So the Gemara Masha. So the Gemara answered Masha Mashbeh, but this that he Bezdin is gaining in the oil, but it's losing in the worth of the meat. That's becoming ruined. Hachanami Masha Mashbiach Banavia, this that it's gaining from the fertilizer of the fallen leaves, Pagim Batzel, is being cancelled out by the tree covering it and blocking it from the sun. So therefore the Chacham were mated in our Mishnah.